Hi everyone, a very warm welcome. This is Jyotsna Thakran, media representative of Frontlist Media. Today we all are gathered here for July month spotlight session. So we have three authors as a panelist today. First one is Shubha Vilas. Hi Shubha Vilas.
Hello.
Second, Swati Sharma. Hi ma'am. And Arundhati Sang. Hi ma'am. So, our topic is challenges faced by authors to get published their books. So, without any further ado, let's start our session. So, my first question: why do authors prefer to get their books self published nowadays? Let's start with Shubha sir.
I have been published by almost every publisher in India, some of the biggest publishers, including Penguin, Jaiko, Westland, Fingerprint, Home Books. I worked with many publishers. I've understood one thing about the publishing industry: you get no help, literally. You're on your own. Whether you're self-published or you're published through a publisher, it really doesn't make a difference. You make more money if you're self-published. That's simple as that. So if an author is interested in money, he goes by a self-publishing mode. If he's interested in a brand, then he goes by a publisher. Either ways, it doesn't make a difference because ultimately things sell on Amazon nowadays. Once your book is listed on Amazon, it's your effort and it's your name that sells ultimately. Publishing house hardly matters.
Swati ma'am.
Yeah, hi. Thanks, Jyotsna, for having me and all of us here today. So that's a very pertinent question. That why do authors, prefer self-publishing? Is you see, first point is it's very independent. You don't have to rely on anybody. And then there is Amazon Asia Pacific Holdings, right, which provide you a world market, and there is transparency there. And secondly, it's fast and quick, it's easy, it's DIY, it's do it yourself. And lastly, there is no one who's interfering with your creativity, who's disrespecting your creativity or what you bring to the table. You have a message, you're an author, you're a writer, that's a platform for you. You can reach out to the world. If your content is great, it's going to go places. So that's what I think. Why self-publishing? Why everybody is going via the self-publishing route?
Yeah, it's better now.
Perfect. Much better.
Yeah. So the thing that I was trying to say is, an author it's kind of a first approach that you do to anything. Okay. So first of all, people will not just go for your product. You have to well write it. You have to well market it. Only then a book will be well read. And I think, like Shubh sir also said, in the current publishing market, you cannot expect any help from any publisher. So both of these, the author only does. Then why go to the lengths of, getting an extended timeline of whether your manuscript is approved or whether it is rejected? Rather, you do it at your pace. You are going to do like all in all of it. So I waste time waiting for somebody else's reward. So I think that is usually the approach that it makes you independent. It makes you independent. Like also Swati said, it is quite transparent. For example, I would tell you the KDP dashboard for the authors which go directly into Kindle publishing. They have access to everything. How their book is doing, if they're running any promotional activity, then how people are responding to it. All those things, it is quite clear on that dashboard only. You will get every information. Then why you write an email to the support team and then you get a revert in 5 days. By the 5 days, your promotional thing is over. So you don't really know how it works. So I think for those things, it is much better. And the faster pace is what triggers authors to go for self-publishing in today's world. I think that's my take on it.
Okay, thank you so much. So my next question: how does the emergence of self-publishing industry affect the publishing industry nowadays? So right now we can all see self-publishing, but we have a big publishing industry like Penguin Random and Scholastic. So how does it affect the publishing industry, the emergence of self-publishing industry? Shubha sir.
My understanding is everybody gets their bread.
Okay.
There are so many authors who want to write, and there are so many publishers who want to publish. So and there are so many readers who want to read. So I guess just like we have all different types of hospitals, and
Okay.
all of them are full, right? All the beds are full always, right? Because there are patients, there are diseases, there are problems, and of course there are doctors. So similarly, the publishing industry works the same way. According to what your budget is, according to what your capacity is, according to what your approach is, there are different options available. You'll always find some patients treating themselves, isn't it?
Okay.
I know so many people who have treated themselves for corona, and they're perfectly fine. So same with the publishing industry. There are so many people who can take care of themselves. They can write, they can sell, they can market themselves, they can get the books designed well, and they do well. And the publishers also have enough. So every publisher has to catch one big name.
Yeah.
Their year will run, basically. All their salaries will be taken care of, all their expenses will be taken. They just need one big name. So every publisher catches one big name, and then they have 100, 200 small names. Their industry will run, essentially. So I feel that everyone has enough.
Okay.
If you look at it from that point of view, obviously, if you have a dream like Amazon to take over everybody, then nothing is enough.
Yeah.
But the way I function, why I see at least is having interacted with so many publishers, I see that everybody is satisfied with what they have. And in fact, they have more than
Okay.
what they can handle on their plate.
Yeah, it's correct. Yeah, I totally agree with you. So Swati ma'am.
Jyotsna, I feel so one is your independent publishing and other is the traditional publishing route. So I think the independent publishing has completely smashed the traditional publishing, ecosystem. It has given a big hit to it because where they were just the only players and just the few players, and they would call the shots and they would call the shots as in, we'll see if your manuscript is fine or we'll reject it, or sometimes many authors are not even given a reason for rejection, or there is lack of transparency, and also the kind of royalty that is given. So all of that has been smashed completely by the independent publishing route. Your book is out there in the world. It's DIY, there is transparency, and they pay you 70% royalty or 60% royalty, depending on the exclusivity rights. So I think maybe it was unfathomable for them. And I think during one of our discussions in Clubhouse, there was a discussion amongst authors and creative writers and everybody that I think they will have to soon come to terms with come up to terms with what independent publishing is offering. Otherwise, because the idea is what? See, a novice writer would want to become an author, right?
Okay.
How does you see, Jyotsna, when you go to a bookstore, you pick up a book because you pick up a book. Like that day we were discussing, you pick up a book like a Kafka on the Shore is on your mind. Do you ever see, let me see who's the publisher?
I don't see the publisher.
None of us do that.
Yeah.
None of us do that. We don't pick a book because thinking, okay, let me see if Penguin is a publisher. No. 50 Shades of Grey, which has become a cult, that trilogy, was self-published. And it sold like hotcakes. Yeah. So it doesn't matter who the publisher is. If your content is great, and content according to me is not even king, content is kingdom, then and self-publishing has provided a route there. So I think it is completely given a big hit to the traditional publishing industry.
Totally changed the publishing industry.
Yeah, totally changed the dynamics. Totally.
Okay.
Totally. Where at one point of time, I'm glad I didn't experience all such stories or rejection stories, but I had heard a lot of them where writers were at the mercy of traditional publishers. Ki if they don't publish my book, oh, who will do and who will go? How will my message go to the world? That has changed.
I think self-publishing industry just changed this idea of people that my audience, how am I supposed to, reach out my audience? Because there are so many publishers that they don't want you to get published because they don't like your content, or maybe, some kind of ego clashes. So I think the social self-publishing industry just changed the proper industry dynamics, as you said. So yeah, I totally agree what you
Yeah,
just said.
or if a traditional publisher wants to only look at big names,
Yeah.
if their idea is only to go for big names, then how about novice writers? How about people who are writing for the first time? How about who want to do their debut? I think self publishing has given a great platform for them, and I think which is so beautiful. Yeah. Thank you.
Arundhati ma'am.
Yeah, I think self-publishing. So basically, what earlier it used to happen is it used to be like a capitalist society, if you can put it that way. Where one side of the table had all the power, and the other side of the table had a manuscript in hand, no publisher to publish it, and at the mercy of the publishing houses.
Right.
Whereas now, and of course, see, for example, like me as an author, okay, I will first concentrate on my writing. I will be a writer. I would always love to be a writer and do nothing else. Okay, because that is what is my thing. Okay, and that is what has been there. And creativity is very subjective. People who take their time to invest in creativity, they don't usually like the kind of the poshness or the show off and the extravaganza of the external world. They don't like it usually. So what happens usually, I mean, in the past, what used to happen is, now the publishing industry has all the power. The author is powerless, but he had the cake which is going to be sold. Okay, so these guys will have, I mean, it's kind of an exploitation. Now, how it has changed is, author has the content which is gonna be sold, and he or she also has the knowledge. Earlier, that
Right.
was the biggest piece of information which was missing. There was no idea as to how a book is going to happen, work in the market, how the marketing is going to happen, how he or she is going to reach out to the audience who are her target audience. So those things were those gaps are plugged now by social media. You make your own content, you just give it for free for a few days. People read, they get a sense of how you write, what you are writing, and you attract the similar kind of crowd who love to read the kind of things that you write. So
Okay.
that's where you have the information, you have the content. Now it's all up to you. So you go wheresoever you want to go. So what is happening right now is, traditional publishing houses also, whenever in a negotiation, both the parties have to have equal amount of knowledge. That's when the negotiation is successful and mutually beneficial. So now I think the industry as a whole is moving towards that, where author is not just exploited out of his or her content, but also given the deserving remuneration for it, if I can put it that way. So I think it's a good change for sure. It's definitely a good change. There will always be downsides also to everything, and I think this thing also has its downside. It has a downside of information of plenty. I mean, recently I am also an avid reader. So recently I have read a few books of new authors also, wherein the
Okay.
thorough editing is also not done. So I think those are the downsides of it. While there is a huge upside of it. So the downside can definitely be ignored.
I
That's
think,
how I think.
Arundhati ma'am, your book, The Identity One, it's also self-published, right?
Yes, both of my books are. So my first book was a scholarship funded this thing, and my second book was self-published.
Okay, it's amazing. So my third question. Is it true that unnecessary edits are destroying the credibility of books? Share your views as well. So basically, as we all know, like if you are going in a publishing industry, they will tweak your content according to them, like do some edits. So it basically destroy your own credibility. So I would like to ask Arundhati, what you have thoughts about this?
So about this thing, actually, in fact, I had a similar kind of experience once. Even though it was a self-published book for my second book, in fact, I had that kind of an experience wherein I gave it to an external editor just to have a different perspective, and he didn't understand the context of the book. And he
Okay.
changed it, like instead of changing just the proofread and the context gap plugging, he changed it. So I finally went ahead with my own draft. So
Okay.
yeah, I think. But having said that, I think for an author, the editing never stops. So I would like to say about myself. I write once, and then I keep editing it. Like I keep editing it until my brain just gives up. And then I have to set a timeline for myself that okay, this is the timeline after which I'm not going to touch this manuscript. I'm going to
Okay.
leave it like it. So I think, and yes, with that many rounds of edits, I think I somewhere also mean like, I read this meme once that a author puts a comma today, and that will be my editing for the day. And tomorrow, I will myself delete that comma. So, so that's how it happens. I think too much editing is also not good for any manuscript. So, totally agree with this that too much of editing can actually affect the context in a negative way. So,
Okay.
totally agree.
Okay. Subha will ask, sir.
My experience of editors and editing is slightly different. Um, I usually put my foot down when it comes to my content. I
Okay.
do not allow publishers, editors, or anyone to mess around with my content. If they want to mess around, I'll say, sorry, I don't want to publish through you. So, and usually I'm pretty confident about my content. So I write once. I never ever go back again to it in terms of going through and editing it myself. But once I write it, I really write it with a lot of focus and a lot of intense concentration.
Okay.
And what I expect from my editors is editing the language and not the content. So I'm completely open to language being enhanced, language being grammatically and sentence formation.
Corrected.
I'm okay with that. But as far as content is concerned, I don't allow them to touch it. And most of the publishers I work with, they understand because I come from a background that is very, very strong in content. So usually nobody tries to meddle with my content at least. So I have one or two times that it has happened. I have put my foot down and I have just rejected an entire manuscript's edit
Okay.
basically because somebody really messed up with the whole content. They were giving me comments on my content. I just put my foot down, said no. And then once they understood, then obviously because I come from a genre that's very, very,
Mythological, I guess.
I don't call it mythology. I call it either scriptures or epics.
Okay.
Mythology is a word that I wouldn't want to use for.
Okay, I'm sorry. It's
Yeah.
a scripture.
And I make sure that in none of my books the word mythology is used ever.
Okay.
So, so because my strength is understanding of the scriptures very intensely, and I make the scriptures relevant to a modern audience,
Okay.
and I understand my content well. Yes, obviously, from a language point of view, I'm quite open to people helping me enhance it and edit it to whatever extent it can be, but not as far as the content is concerned. Fortunately for me, my publishers have understood it and they have cooperated so far, and I don't expect the problem in the future also. And if there is going to be a problem, I'll put my foot down anyway.
Put down it. Okay. Swati ma'am.
So your question is that, like in the industry, do you see that over editing actually mars, the original content? So my answer would be, see, it is all directly proportional to the quality of your manuscript. Any author, any writer. And I think the editors know their job. I think we should respect that. And yes, if the editors are making an edit which is basis grammatical errors, etc. And also certain, if there are, if certain religious sentiments are not hurt, etc., that those edits, I understand. And as a publishing house, any good publishing house will of course invest a lot of time into their, into good editors and good editing.
Okay.
However, when it comes to creative editing, that is something I'm averse to. Like, you can tell me that say, if I'm using the word Allah, and though I am ruthless with my own edits, if it has to be a capital A, I understand. But if
Okay.
you're telling me that the sun that I am seeing, and I have mentioned that it has to be, hues of mustard, or, turquoise, etc., the sunrise that I am seeing. But if you tell me, no, you have to mention yellow there, that is something which
That is, you
it will be
just
difficult
can't.
for me
Yeah.
to, yes, accept it. If I talk about my own experience, like as Arundhati ji shared, I share quite a similar writing experience with her. Completely similar. It took me 3 years to write my book, The Secret
Okay.
Sauce Is You. And for 6 months, I did extensive research into Greek philosophy, quantum physics, and psychology. For 1 year, I wrote it, and for 1 year, I kept on editing it. For 1 year, I kept on ruthlessly editing it, and I can completely resonate with Arundhati ji's, sentiments. And it used to be like, I have changed entire paragraphs. So my book is 1 lakh words. So just imagine, and I must have edited it 10 times. Imagine 10 lakh, 10 lakh words. I was just, it's like playing with words. I did that. But then I was finally, when I read my manuscript, I was like, who has written this? It was so good.
I think it is always worth it. I mean, sorry to just enter because
No,
I
that's fine.
completely
Yeah.
resonate with you. I think it's always worth it. I mean, you love the kind of efforts that you put, and after that, when you see it, you feel like, yes, this is the right thing I did.
Exactly. And I was so and finally I was like, who has written this? And I could relate with a lot of, like, writers like Charles Dickens, and a lot of some great, even Shakespeare. Somewhere they've written that we were not writing it, some higher power took over us and actually
Okay.
wrote it. And it seems like when I see the final
Yes.
product, I'm like, Swati, because
What was this written?
yeah, because honestly, the second or the third time I read my manuscript, I was like, my God, Swati, this is horrible. I used to be, who has written this? But the final one I wrote, I was like, you have not written this. This is too good, man. So final, when my manuscript went to the publisher and the editor, the first few pages that you gave, it was accepted everywhere. They loved it.
Okay.
And my final book, the editor didn't have to do much creatively. And the editor just, the comments of my editor was like, Swati, I just enjoyed it. It was addictive, and I just enjoyed it. I didn't have to, do any edits. So yeah, for any writer or author, I would say your editing is directly proportional to the quality of your manuscript.
Oh, yeah.
And secondly, with my experience, I'm completely ruthless with my own edits.
Editing.
So
skill.
final, when my editing goes, my editors are already in love with the manuscript.
Because you have already done multiple times of editing.
Absolutely. And I'm so clear by then. Imagine, I even know right now on page number 53, line number 13, what is the fourth word. Someone can ask me and I can tell. So my editor, when they actually had some, I said, yeah. Before they could say, I would tell the line. It was like, are you okay? It's like, it's like my baby, okay? My own baby, my own blood. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
When author give a best-selling book, right? So it becomes a burden upon them to write more engaging content. So have you ever faced this kind of problem? Like, if you have written something very good, and right now, next for your next book, they expect you to be the same person, or more than a good author, like from the previous book. So what have you ever faced any kind of problem regarding this? Subha will ask, sir. Right.
So when you begin something, your first level of nervousness is, can you do it? But once you do something, you reach a second level of nervousness, which is, can you keep up to what you have done in the past?
Yeah.
Can you live up to it? And I don't think anybody in the world who has achieved any level of success will not feel nervous. Every time Sachin Tendulkar steps into a crease, he's definitely nervous whether he's going to be able to perform. I mean, even after 80, 90 movies, Amitabh Bachchan is still nervous about what's going to happen in the box office for his movie. So everyone who has achieved any level of success, there is actually another level of nervousness that comes in with every success that you achieve.
Okay.
But I would say that nervousness is not exactly the nervousness that is normally spoken about. Um, Embracing a higher level of potential. So,
Okay.
because if you once have achieved something in your life, you have had a small glimpse of what your potential is. So naturally, living up to your potential is not easy, isn't it? It's an effort.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not, I mean, no matter how good you are, there is an effort that you put in to reach your peak potential.
Peak potential.
And every human being should do it because each one of us have some gifts that God has given us. And these gifts are to be used to the maximum. So when we use our gifts to the maximum, we are actually living our purpose, living the reason for which we are created. And that definitely is an expectation, not so much from the world on us. It's an expectation of ourselves on ourselves.
Yeah.
And that makes it special. At the same time, it makes it intense.
Okay.
So while I have been writing three books, I began in 2013. I wrote my first book. And
Okay.
when I wrote my first book, I obviously didn't even think it will be published. I was writing it for a very simple reason. There was a school I was a part of, and I used to teach many kids in that school.
Okay.
And I went to the library of the school and I found so many books there. I was just thinking, these kids don't have books that teach them values, deeper values of life. And I said, instead of complaining, let me write something. That's how I began the journey of writing the Ramayana, the Game of Life series. And the first book itself went on to become a bestseller. And, the publisher signed a 6-book series with me. I didn't expect that to happen.
That is amazing.
But when it did happen, before that, I had not written a single word in my life. I had not written a single article. I had not written a single, I don't even remember writing a single essay in the past, other than my school books or school essays or whatever. But when I did get published and it happened wonderfully, obviously people were always wondering, a lot of my own friends, they couldn't believe that I wrote that book, first of all.
Okay.
Because they've never seen me write anything. And then the second book, when I wrote, obviously the pressure is there, whether I'll be able to really perform what I did again. One time you write it, in fact, one person came and told me, there's a book I wrote called Open Eye Meditations. This person read the book and came and told me, I don't know how you wrote it. I don't think you'll ever be able to write a book like this again. So when I heard that, I was not sure whether he's giving me a compliment or he's giving me a warning.
Warning.
But it was. But then I realized that I want to just be true to my abilities.
Okay.
I try honestly, my best. Results is not in my hand. Effort is in my hand.
Yeah.
I decided I'm not going to focus so much on what the what I write. I love what I write. The content. I love the research. I love the study, and therefore I enjoy the process. I guess when you do that, the results come by itself.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Arundhati ma'am.
Yeah, Jyotsna. So I think for me, I am a very spontaneous writer.
Okay.
For me, it's like that intensity of the moment that compels me to write. I don't have any other way out. I started writing in a very, very young age. I don't know when. I was in school, primary school, maybe. And since then I have been writing. So I don't know. Some of them are lost somewhere in between, and whatever is left with me, I still edit them.
Okay.
So to me, content creating one time content and having that burden throughout, yes, it is definitely there. It is there, I think, not just for authors, but for everyone else. I mean, in our personal life also, when we put, for example, I'll just give a common one example here. Like one time you celebrate a birthday of somebody you love,
Okay.
in so much of, good things, you do this and that and that. And then next time, if you are not able to live up to that, then that person will not be so happy.
Yeah.
That's the kind of expectation that is always there on us as human beings. And after that, we come to being an author, being a reader, being a doctor, whatever. First of all, we are human beings. So I think for an author, it is definitely there, and we are keeping a part of ourselves out in the open for people to judge, for people to review, for people to say good and bad things both. While we accept the good and bad things both with a similar kind of a spirit, but yes, the bad things definitely hurt because we are at the end of the day human beings. Like
Yeah.
So that burden will definitely be there, and I think that is a good thing for that burden to be there
Because it's keep
then you
pushing
thrive.
you. Yeah.
Yes, that is a push. It makes you, thrive. You feel like, okay, like Swati also said, I think when we read through our books, when we read through our manuscript, there are 3 pages. This is horrible. This is okay. Wow, who wrote it? So I think the third part is what we want to maintain throughout our manuscript when we are, reading or when we are writing or whatever. And for me, I think I write at an impulse. I am not a regular writer. I am not at all a regular writer. I write like in 1 week, maybe I write in 2 days. But when I sit to write, I write like I'm purchased. I mean, I don't get up, I don't eat, I don't drink anything. I just write like, purchased like most. And my thing is, when I write something, I act out like I'm, like my characters, because I'm so engrossed in them. I am thinking what they are thinking. So with that, there is, when a lot of spontaneity and a lot of intensity comes into your writing, then what happens? Sometimes you leave the hold of language.
Okay.
Because what happens? Your mind is at a completely different speed than your hands. So you just feel like, okay, let me scribble this. Okay, and then when you keep editing it, you feel like, okay, I think I did that better. I wrote that in a better way. So I think I need to match this up to that level. So that constant war in your mind is always there. And that is the most difficult war to win in any situation in life. In the entire universe, that is the most difficult battle that anybody fights. So I think that burden is definitely a good thing, even though it gives us sleepless nights, but that is definitely a good thing for an author at least, and for a human being also. So, yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Arundhati. Swati ma'am.
All right. So this question of yours regarding that, do we feel the pressure or
for your next book?
Yeah, for the next book, etc. Not at all. You see, because when you love something, there is you just flow like air. It's free, like it's around us right now. There's you can't see it, but it's intangible. When you see, I think I'm a writer first and then an author, and that's the journey of every author. You were a writer first. Nobody came and told us to be a writer. My mother didn't tell me, my father didn't tell me. I didn't have to. So your passion is when you just do it even when no one is paying you even a penny for it. So you would just do it endlessly and for hours and hours. So I'm so passionate about writing that there is no pressure. So I'm not writing because my next book should be great. I'm writing because there is something inside me which I cannot contain. It's like, it's like if a mother, has her first child, and the first child is coming second or third in class, and then she'll say, "Acha, the second one that I will deliver na should come first in class." It can never. So because mothers are creators. I am a creator. I'm an artist. I'm a writer. So my every book of mine will be my child, and no one in the world has the right to say that, and even if anyone says, it wouldn't bother, because my child is my child. It's my creation. It came out of me, from my soul. So, and Jyotsna, that, within 46 days of the launch of my first book by Ashish Vidyarthi ji on the Crosswords platform, The Secret Sauce Is You, I published my second book also, Tit for Tata, which is yet to be launched. I mean, we're going to launch it very soon. So I just launched it. I just published within 46 days. And there is a mind. I have already conceived, by the way, the idea. As a mother, I've already conceived the idea of the third one, of a third book. So, what are we talking? So yeah, absolutely. I have absolutely no pressure because I just love it. I'm incredibly passionate about writing. So no amount of pressure, because I do it out of love. And if you love somebody or if you love something, you do it not as an obligation or a responsibility or a liability or a burden. You just
passion.
You just do it because you won't be able to live without it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You do it as an oxygen. It's your oxygen. Rather, if you take that oxygen away, then of course the whole world is facing an oxygen crisis, and that's in this pandemic. So yeah, it's like oxygen. Writing is oxygen for a writer.
Oxygen.
For me.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So my last questions to all of you. Prevalence of the audiobooks. Industry persuade readers to drift towards the audio format books. So how does it influence the written format books? As we all can see on YouTube or audiobooks available in markets. So does it affect on our written book format? Subha Vilas, sir.
I love audiobooks. Every month I hear one audiobook and I read one normal book, physical book. In fact, I switch also many times. Like I'm hearing an audiobook, I love it. I buy the physical copy of the book also. So I feel that today time is always a challenge in terms of actually getting quality time for reading and studying, learning, absorbing. Whatever format works that helps you read, get access to good quality content, I feel is worth it. Okay. Audiobooks help me hear so much. Just my morning routine, every day, 15 days I hear, every single day, the whole morning routine, brushing my teeth and shaving. I finish an entire book in 15 days,
Wow.
And otherwise I would have not done anything in that duration, right? So it really helps me maximize on my time. Okay. And then the other parts of the day, I read a physical copy of the book, basically. So I feel that, whatever format, especially audiobook is in the voice of the author, it becomes even more powerful and impactful because the emotions of the author just comes out so powerfully, the voice modulation, the exact
words,
in the person's mind. It really helps you to understand the import of what that person is trying to say. And so I love books. The only possession I really have is books. I have thousands and thousands of books, basically. And now in audio format, Kindle format, whatever format they come, okay. I absorb them. And I feel that we should encourage, because I know so many people who don't have the habit of reading. Yeah. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't have the habit of reading, but they want to read. It's not that they don't want to. Now they understand it's important, but it's just that they're just not able to sit with the physical book. For such people, audiobooks are a blessing.
Yeah.
Just while traveling, while doing other things, they can hear something. So, and then that encourages them to pick up the book.
Okay.
So almost every audiobook that I have heard, I have bought the physical copy of the book also eventually.
Okay. So you read audio and books. You prefer both, right?
Yeah. I prefer books. I read books in kilos.
It's amazing. Swati ma'am.
Okay, so I guess if you're trying to draw a comparison between the audio and the paperback, I think that the charm of holding a book in your hand and the the feel of pages and the smell of the pages and looking at the book cover. Book covers are always the talk. Uh, so I think that is very, very beautiful. Any avid reader, they would
Okay.
you know definitely would. I have seen many people, in spite of having Kindle, they sometimes order a book because they want to hold it in their hand. It gives a tangible meaning
Meaning to
to
your
books.
books, yes.
And now in audiobooks, I think I don't know, but it's like if I this pandemic has taught this very if I give this pandemic example, now everybody is like wanting to go out, meet people in person. Everybody is sort of fed up with this virtual world and talking virtually. You want to meet the person, but you're not able to because this pandemic is it's refusing to end across the world.
Yeah.
So that is what it is. A book is the tangible thing in your hand, sitting with you in your hand every time. Audio is like, you just, any which ways this pandemic, that's all that we are doing, right? We are talking on phone, we are seeing everyone, we're meeting virtually. So I think at least a book in this pandemic is still remains a
Like
book.
a companion.
Totally. Like they say, a book is a man's best friend. It's and so you would definitely want your best friend rather than talk on. Would you prefer talking on phone or would you prefer meeting in person?
And meeting
Or
in person.
yeah, and
Obviously.
or having that friend with you like 24/7. So it's like that. Having a hard copy, owning a hard copy is like it's a treasure trove, right, of readers and writers. So yeah, I think that charm will never ever go. I myself a Kindle. I own a Kindle, but I still love the feel of a book in my
Books
hand.
and pages of the books. Yeah.
Yeah, because you know me. That's why I'm a very real person. I want real things. I want a real book in my hand. So yeah.
So you prefer written format books.
Yes. Audio is fine. Yeah, I agree. As what Mr. Vilas said, that if it is in the author's voice, it is a very powerful thing, and the feelings also come in there. But if we're drawing a comparison, then of course this charm of having a book in your hand is never going to go.
Okay. So it's, a long lasting effect
Of
on
course, long lasting,
Arundhati ma'am.
forever.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think for me, to answer your question first, audiobooks, if they are going to affect in any way the publishing industry, I think the target audience group is very different. I mean, for example, I would I think this would be an up way of saying it. Audiobook, if you can put it this way, then audiobook is a fast-paced life. Okay, it's like it never stops. So you, like Shubh also said, right? In the morning, that 15 minutes, 1 hour time, it would have been wasted. So it is a pace towards productivity. So that is when you would prefer an audiobook. But book is a book. At the end of the day, when I say a book, you would always imagine a paperback, right? That is like the evening tea with a view and a book in your hand. So that's the kind of the difference between an audiobook and a book, the paperback for that matter, printed. Okay.
I would definitely agree to what Arundhati is saying. I'll add by saying that it depends on what genre you're reading.
Correct. I was coming to that.
If you're reading non-fiction,
Yes.
audiobook works well, no? But if you're reading a fiction book, I would never hear an audiobook. Fiction book doesn't make sense hearing an audiobook because you need to read it physically, But it depends on what you're reading actually.
Yes. So I was just coming to that. In fact, for example, like my second book, Identity, which you were initially saying. So it's a book about it's a book of intense emotions and deep thoughts. Okay.
Okay.
Like people whosoever have read it, they've always said it that it instigates you to think. It's a book that you read with patience. It's not a book that you hold at once and you finish it up like at one go and keep it. There are 3-4 types of books. One is a nighttime story book.
Okay.
Nighttime story books are the ones which, or a short story book, which is like a very light read. Like, you are traveling on the bus and you just plug in your earphones and you can hear it and you can feel it. You can still feel it and you can enjoy the flow. But something like a Leo Tolstoy book or a Mitch Albom, you
Yeah.
would not like to listen to them. You would like to read it. You would like to feel every word of it. Okay. And something like a poetry book for that matter. Poetry is always, you would like to hear it when somebody else is reciting it also. It has a different charm to it.
Charm.
Like the Urdu Shairi
Yeah.
or those kind of books. If those kind of books in audiobooks, yes, they are a very great thing that ever happened to the publishing industry. But everything has its own, like I said, target audience. So the target audience is very different. They complement each other, but
Okay.
they don't supplement each other.
Okay.
Audiobook.
I just have a point to add to Arundhati ji. When she was saying something, a thought came to my mind. So, one thing is also about audiobooks is the pace at which you want to read. The pace, till date, being the millennial that I am, and so many friends of mine have been suggesting, Swati, listen to this audiobook, listen to that audiobook. But I haven't paid heed to what they are saying. And the reason is that I want to read a book at my pace. Because,
Okay.
so for instance, I read a lot of non-fiction and it is usually deep stuff. And if it is philosophy, psychology, quantum physics, there is one line that I would like to read multiple times before I go to the next one. And I would like to understand it in my head. I would like to, I will weave it, I will twist it, I will turn it, I will in my own perception. So I will learn about it again. I might have to refer back again to the different page. So that's how, so I don't fast read. And most deep books cannot be, you cannot read them fast. Whereas in audio format, you don't have that liberty, So it gives me again independence when I'm having a paperback in my hand. And my readers, a lot of them have said with my books, The Secret Sauce Is You, they have said that, Swati, we've had moments in your book that we were reading it, then we just read something and we were like, oh my God, what did I just read? And they would just close the book and look at the wall and like try to absorb and assimilate what did I just read. So and that is also with me, I would want to absorb, assimilate every word, every line, read at my own pace. So I think that is not available in audiobook,
Okay.
So I would so, and paperback gives you that liberty to
So just go back and just read what you have just.
correct.
Okay.
Read every line as per read every line, absorb it, read it again as per read it at your pace, so
I think
again
it's a
it
very
gives you
personal
independence.
thing. It's a very personal experience. I mean, we want to keep it like private, in our own closets, and that's how we treat a book.
Absolutely. So again,
We
you see,
connect.
paperback gives you independence. It gives you your own pace. You are
Yeah.
reading at your own pace. Audiobook is not giving you that liberty. It will
Right.
keep on going. If I'm like, oh, what did I just hear? Then I'll stop. Then I'll go back.
Then you
So
go back
I don't
and
know. No ways. So
so it
yeah.
depends upon the preferences and choices a particular person has, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's about the pace of reading and how you would like to read. So yeah.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Subha Vilas sir, Swati Sharma, and Arundhati Sahu. We had a great session with you guys, and we are so honored that you guys came and yes, share your special thoughts with us. So thank you so much, all of you, and have a good day. Thank you.
Thank
You
you
too.
for having us.
Thank you
Thank
very
you for
much.
having
Very
us.
good.
Thank you so much. Stay safe.
Very happy meeting you all, Swati ji and Arundhati ji. Pleasure.
Same, yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
And
Yeah.
I'm seeing Jyotna also for the first time. I think we have been interacting, but
Yeah,
I'm
this is the
seeing
first time I'm
in person.
interacting with you.
Oh, yeah,
Even
she's a
Subha-
sweetheart.
Yeah.
Even
Jyotsna is a
with
sweetheart.
Subha Vilas sir too. I have talked to Swati ma'am, earlier, but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so
So
much.
fab, Jyotsna. Keep it
Thank you.
going. Keep it up.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Have a
Thank you.
good day.
Bye.
You're
Bye.
welcome. Bye. Take care. Bye.
Take care. You too.
Bye.